There are no longer any more undefeated NFL teams this season. The 72 Dolphins, go ahead and celebrate your champagne. I saw Larry Zonka, who's 75 years old, and still happened to be up at Monday night, which I was shocked by. But he was up at midnight toasting his champagne because the Eagles have finally lost. They lost last night to the Washington Commanders. Great game is probably a stretch. It was very entertaining, though. It was a really entertaining game. It was a fun game to watch. A shocking result, to say the least. In terms of the way the Eagles were flying high, playing incredibly well football. You kind of thought they were going to run away with this, especially when they took a 14-7 lead. But they struggled at time of possession. I think the injury with Jordan Davis, the rookie defensive tackle for the Eagles in that interior the defensive line, they were just getting crushed against the run. And it seems like a huge weakness point right now for the defense. They gave up 100 rushing yards in the first half, and they were getting dominated, I think, 23 to 6 minutes in possession of time. Washington was able to take control of this game in a way that I think all of us were kind of stunned by, and particularly with the fact, when you look at the way Taylor Heineke's playing, someone which I covered in 2015 there in Minnesota. He's always seemed to be someone that's followed Scott Turner around, whether it's in Carolina, whether it was in Minnesota, now in D.C. as well. And every single time you kind of count this person out, you don't think he's going to be the person to solve the quarterback problems for the Commanders. He's able to find ways to just will the team to win. And the numbers aren't pretty. I mean, it was 17 for 29, 211 yards, an interception, didn't even throw a touchdown pass. But he has the belief of the leaders of the team, the players in that locker room, and again, he's never going to really wow you statistically speaking and really wow you with his play, but he gets the job done. And I think it's at a point now where the Commanders have to really think about long-term wise, at least particularly this season, of just rolling with Taylor Heineke, despite the fact that Carson Wentz is supposed to come back this week off of IR. And having said all that, I want to bring in Aman now, our producer, to talk more about this game. Because there was some controversy that existed in this game as well. As we talk about the X's and O's and all the issues that happened. There was a face mask penalty that wasn't called on Dallas Goedert, who was getting his face mask pulled. It led to a fumble. Obviously, they were going through the reviews. There was 100 replays that were being done to try and see if this ball was jarred out before he was down. And every single play, it's so obvious that the face mask is just getting yanked. And eventually, obviously, Goddard got hurt off of that. He's going to miss some significant time because of a shoulder injury as a result of it. But there's now been a debate of whether face mask should be part of the review process. You should be able to challenge it. I'm completely against it. I am very anti-review at this point. Ama, what do you think?
Yeah, I hear you as well, because on one hand, yes, it was a bogus play. Like, they should have had that call. But I'm with you as well. Like, make the game faster. Like, we want to get in and out. It's Monday night. Like, I got things to do the next day. Like, we gotta keep this moving. I get why fans are upset, but like, if that means it's going to slow down the game, like, no, I don't want that. Like, I'm all for. I understand the importance of replays and reviews and things like that, but any initiative to make the game faster in any sport, I'm always going to be for.
Because right now at this point, we're 2 decades in on reviews. And obviously, when it was first introduced into sports, and particularly with the NFL, I was excited. Everyone was excited. You can finally get to this position where, cool, we'll get to a point where, yes, the wrong calls will finally be made right and made whole, and we can get this beautiful vacuum of football that we expect where there's no errors whatsoever that exist. And that hasn't been the case. And on top of that, if anything, there's been more controversy that's been existing as a result of replay due to some very subjective calls that have gone one way or another. With face mask, I understand the argument in terms of the objectivity to it, where you can either look at it and see if it's been yanked or not. But I'm at a point now where this happens every year in the NFL. Someone gets jobbed at the end of a game, and then the team will end up going to the competition committee and reviewing that this should be challenged. And then we go through a whole process in the offseason in the summertime where this is a point of emphasis and it's something that can be called and changed. And it just adds on more and more layers to reviewing, where you see it not only in the NFL. You saw it in baseball in the World Series where everything stopped down. The play momentum, whether you believe in momentum or not, I do. Momentum gets stopped. The entire the way that the game is flowing just completely comes to a halt, just to get 3 minutes or 4 minutes of a review that is taking forever and takes away from the game. You're seeing it in baseball. You're seeing it in basketball in the last 2 minutes, which already take forever as it is. But now you add replay into it. It's awful to watch. VAR in soccer has been incredibly annoying to watch because every single time someone scores a goal, you don't know if they're a millimeter or a fraction of a hair offside because their elbow is a little further than someone else's toe. It's gotten completely ridiculous in terms of how specific replay has gotten, that it's ruining aspects of the game that I'm very reluctant. I never thought I would be in this position, but I'm very reluctant to add on to replays, challenges, official reviews because it's already gotten that hand.
Yeah, and let's be honest, the only people that in any sport that complain about refereeing and replays is the losing team, right? If you're winning, you don't care about play
Exactly.
calls,
it's always the losing team.
right? And here's the thing, like, no matter what changes you make, somebody's going to be upset. And, like, if you say, okay,
Yes.
let's bring in more replays, then they're going to be like, there's too much replay. We're relying too much on technology. What about the refs on the field? And then when you just rely on the refs on the field, we need more technology. Like, just, it's fine. It's okay. Let's make the game more fun. And referees and replays don't make the game more fun. Like, make it faster. Like, you're only complaining because you lost. And that's okay, Philly fans. It's okay. You lost one game. It's okay.
You'll be fine.
Act like you've been here before.
I will say this. The Philly fans that I've talked to, it's not just one game to them on this one. I mean, I feel like a lot of them had their guards down in this game and expected it to be another Monday night primetime spectacle. They're at home. The NFC East games, which at this point it's hard to argue, it's the best division of football. I know people are going to make a case for the AFC East, but the NFC East is where it's at right now with the Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, and now you got the Commanders at 5-5, and they're about to get Chase Young back this week. That's going to be a team to look out for a possible playoff hunt, though that playoff picture is going to be very tough for them to crack, but they're going to make a good run at it. The way the NFC East football is being played, anybody can beat anybody. And I think the Eagles had their guards down because just a couple weeks ago, they beat the crap out of the Commanders. They're probably expecting the same thing at home in a primetime situation. And they got bullied in many ways. I mean, second and third quarter, you look at that situation where, I mean, they go on a 16 they score 16 unanswered points, the Commanders did. And you're kind of looking at the situation like, man, they're dominating time of possession. They're dominating the ball, and they're really being able to control the trenches in a way that we just haven't seen another team do against the Eagles. And I know, people have picked on the Eagles' schedule, whether they've been able to play tough teams or not in these kind of circumstances, situations. But, the Giants have a chance now. It cracks open the door for them to potentially win the NFC East. We'll see how that goes. The Cowboys, unfortunately, after the loss of the Packers, even carries a little bit more weight in terms of the window and the advantage and the opportunity that they could have had if they would have won that game. But I'm all there with you in terms of the replay aspect of things. And shout out to Scott Turner, Commanders offensive coordinator. Again, I covered him in Minnesota. Was a good old 2015 Minnesota reunion there. Him facing off against Jonathan Gannon there, who's the Eagles defense coordinator, who's done an outstanding job and probably be a head coach here pretty soon, if not next season. But Scott Turner gave him some different looks with two tight end sets, some things that I think caught Jonathan Gannon off guard. And that offense, again, with the limitations of Taylor Heinicke, did what they had to do. They ran the ball extremely well, and that's going to have to be their identity moving forward if they want to make this run.